Hello and welcome to All the Pies. My name's Si. No Kev today, as this episode is a My Favourite 11. We've got a special guest coming up for My Favourite 11. I just want to say a couple of things about the recording. If you do hear any background noise, there's people outside from the council cutting the grass. Big fat bloke smoking the tab. The dog's whinging, he's fucking his toy. He's had a shit somewhere, it absolutely stinks. I'm going to have to find where he's had a shit. The door might knock and we'll stop, but I'll try and edit it all and it'll be all beautiful and you'll not even notice. So my favourite 11, what is the format? Well, you should know by now if you're regular subscribers. This is your favourite 11 plus 4 subs who played for Newcastle in your lifetime. I don't want the best. I don't want fucking everyone to pick Alan Shearer and what have you. So I want the more obscure, the better. And for this, we have the star of the first Amazon style documentary before they did it, when we had Raffle Benitez, when we got out the championship, won the championship on the first time of asking. It is We Are the Geordies. I will put the link in the description where you can go and get a copy of that on DVD. But one of the stars on that is joining us right now for my favourite 11. Everybody, welcome to the stage or to the studio, Davy Craig. Hello, mate.
All right.
How are you doing?
All right. I thought you were going to introduce us as a musician or something like that. Not, it's ancient.
No.
We are the Geordies now.
We are the Geordies. That's what you're gonna have.
Great. Everybody should watch it. Every Newcastle fan should watch that film. It's brilliant.
Do you know what, mate? I'm ashamed to say I still haven't watched it, even though you gave me the DVD.
Right. See you later.
I have, right. This is what modern life. I have no facilities to play a DVD. My computer hasn't got any disc drive.
Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime.
I'm going to watch it. Is it? I'd rather pay to watch. I'd rather pay to.
Yeah, you can pay. Yeah.
I'd rather pay to watch. I don't want to stream it for free if it's on Amazon.
You can download it, or you can rent it off Amazon. I can send. I'll send it. You can add it to this.
No, I want it. I'll add the link so people could go and pay. I want the money to go Zara and Jimmy, because they're good peoples and they've helped me out a lot.
You and Joel come round. The whole family come round. You can watch it here one night.
Right, you're on. Mint. Right, mate. So the concept, as you're fully aware, my favourite 11, we are going to go through your favourite 11 Newcastle United players of maybe past and present. And I'm hoping there's going to be some names in there I don't know. Well, there is names in there I don't know because I already know the list. The picture will appear here. I don't have it. I was going to have it at hand and print it out, but the printer fucked. So it's just one thing after a friggin' another. So we'll get it straight off and we'll have some chat and banter as we go along. So Davy, let's start out. Number one, the position underrated position, I feel, in terms of football as a whole. This role can affect the whole team entirely. Does affect the whole team. You need a strong character. You need someone to hold it together. Who is the man that is doing that for you, mate?
Pavel Srnicek for me. There's a number of reasons. I could have picked quite a few. I've been going since 1975, so I've seen.
Old bastard, yeah.
I know, and I was 6. Yeah. But Joe Harvey was manager when I went.
I wasn't even born, mate. I wasn't born.
It was his last game. Right. But Pav, the thing, a lot of people have memories of Pav as a keeper, and they think they were nervous when he was a keeper. One of the reasons why they were nervous was because he used to come out and play,
right?
And he was one of the few that did that. There was only really Grobbelaar and a couple of others had done it before him, but
during training, do you mean?
No, during matches. He used to come out with the ball.
Playing it out, right? Yeah, I know what you mean.
So he started that whole playing out from the back. A lot of the time he would kick it along, or he would come rushing out to try and tackle a striker rather than waiting one-on-one and things like that. But he was good at it, you know.
He was.
Good at it. Your heart was in your mouth every time he did it, but he was good at it. But the reason I've picked him above like loads of others, I mean, there's, you know, like you say, it's not the best. I wasn't going to put given and all that kind of stuff. Favorites. I mean, I was thinking about a few others, you know, but about 10 years ago, it was a few years before he died. I got a message from Steve Wraith, and he says, Pav's doing a week's training. Do you all lads want to go? And so I took them along, and they absolutely loved it. I mean, Alex, my youngest, he ended up going and signing for Newcastle and whatever. And he had the chance when he turned 16 to stay, but he turned it down. He turned it down, and I'm like, what?
Sits next to me in the match, so shout out to him if he watches the channel.
But yeah, he decided it wasn't for him, and you know, that was fine. But aside from Pav being brilliant with the kids, what happened every day was I was the only parent that came along because I was disabled and that, and I wasn't working at the time. I took the kids along, and I thought I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch it. So I had like a packed lunch. All the kids went by themselves to have their packed lunch, you know, as a group.
Yeah.
Every time Pav come, and his son was there. His son went in the group. Pav come and sat with me for an hour.
Oh,
away. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
But he come and, you know, we just chatted, and he talked about stuff in his life and everything like that. And the guy was brilliant. He was just, you know, at the end, it was like Pav, my mate, who like I have like packed lunch with, rather than Pav, the ex-Newcastle United goalkeeper. That's how he made you feel.
You know Andy Fury. He's a stand-up comedian. For anyone, go Google him. He's very funny. Well, he's famously a Mackem. And in his in his book about football, the foreword is by Pavel. And he's a Mackem, so that obviously shows what kind of guy.
Oh, he was a lovely bloke. Lovely bloke, really down to earth. So for that reason alone, aside from I loved him when he was a goalkeeper anyway. He had character. You know what I mean? And it was he wasn't like 100% the best, but on his day he was brilliant, you know.
He was,
For that reason, that's why I've picked him above everybody else, really. Yeah. So there
excellent. You go. Spot on, yeah. Well, that's 2 in a row because Lee Kyler was on first, picked Powell. So yeah, he's obviously people loved him. I loved him. He's in mine. Obviously, I haven't done mine. I might do it at some point, but Pav is in mine as well.
I nearly picked Steve Hardwick because Steve Hardwick was one of the worst goalkeepers we had.
Right.
And these were back in the times in the late 70s when there were so few people used to go. The fans used to take the mick out of him during games and tell jokes about him and stuff. And he would turn around and look because he could hear what they were saying. Because they weren't chanting and cheering because we were absolutely shite.
Yeah.
So, and I felt sorry for him. So if I hadn't have met Pav, it would have been Steve Hardwick, but it was Pav.
Honorable mention to Steve Hardwick for being shite. Yeah. Right. Moving on to the back line, the mighty people who are in charge of keeping that ball out of the net and playing it forward. Now you didn't have to do right back, left back, do centres, but if you have done that, then happy day. That's what I like to hear. Right. So we're going to start right or left, mate. It's entirely up to you. Who we're going to start with.
Right back is Irvin Natris.
That is a name I do not know.
Irvin Natris was one of the most cultured right back footballers of the 70s, and how he didn't get in the England squad, I just do not know. He played mostly in a poor Newcastle United side.
Yeah.
But he took over after David Craig, who obviously my namesake.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But he was just a really cultured player that people don't really remember, you know. I've met him a couple of times, and he's a really like quiet, sort of soft-spoken guy, you know, and just really canny. But aside from I met Malcolm McDonald for the first time when I was 3.
Yeah.
I can just barely remember going to his shop and I got his autograph. But the first person I went up to when I was in, it was about 77, 76, 77, and we were trying to get tickets for a cup game, me and my dad, and he came along in his car, and I was like, it's Irving Natteris, it's Irving Natteris. So my dad, go on then, go and ask him.
Yeah.
So I went up and I had a pen and paper just in case any of the players had come.
Yeah.
So his was the first autograph that I got that I can remember as well.
Yeah.
So, but he was a cracking player. He was a really, really good right back who, you know, he used to bomb on, but he was, you know, passing and movement and everything like that. He was ahead of his time in that sort of way. If you look at you know, the way teams play now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So getting his autographs while he's in there, really, but he was.
Right.
Yeah,
that's more than a valid reason to be in. Lee mentioned Scott Sellers and I was like, yeah, that was the first player I ever got an autograph from. And for that reason, I'll always remember Scott Sellers turning up early. He was like 2 hours early before everyone else. Proper workhorse. Right, moving into the centre, mate. Who you got next?
Right. I've got Glenn Roeder.
And obviously, I only know him from managerial, not from playing.
Glenn Roeder, when he was at QPR and we got him, and he was a really, really good player.
Yeah.
Good defender. But he used to do the Glenn Roeder shuffle. He used to do it. He wasn't not like a drummer. He used to do it. He used to do a step over, and it was just dead simple. And he was a really tall bloke, and it just looked wrong, but he did it, and it worked. And when we signed him, it was like, oh, he's going to do the Glenn Roeder shuffle, but with a black and white shirt on, kind of thing. But he played during the Keegan sort of years, and then went on again.
Yeah.
But the reason why I've picked him again is he was a cracking player, but back in 85, 84, 85, when it was just after Keegan had left and Jack Charlton was manager.
Yeah.
Third game in, end of August, we beat Aston Villa, and we were actually top of the league after those 3 games.
Yeah.
But for that game, I won a competition in the Sunday Sun and went on the pitch and everything, and my name was announced. And I know for a fact, as soon as they said David Craig, everybody thought it was the ex-player. But and there was a ball. There was a ball there. I kicked the ball into the back of the net, and they all cheered again. And I thought, this is kind of I like this. Yeah. But afterwards, what happened was, because we went into the players' dressing room as they were coming in to get ready.
Wow.
Before the match, you know?
I would fucking love to be able to take me Ben to do that.
Honestly, it was just bizarre. Jack Charlton come in and he ducked under. He was so big, he had to duck under to get in. And there was a couple of the players coming in and saying hello, like, you know, and they're getting ready for the play.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we went for a meal, and a few of the players came. But the one that I remember more than anybody was Glenn Roeder, who stood for ages and talked with me and my dad for ages. There was all these dignitaries and different other people there, you know, and he chose to come and stand and chat with us too.
Yeah.
And he was just fantastic, and we chatted about all sorts. It wasn't just football. He was just telling me everything, and he was just a lovely, lovely bloke.
Yeah.
How he didn't stay when he took us into Europe and they sacked him.
So what year? Oh, you took managerial. Sorry,
I've jumped ahead into managerial as well, but yeah. But I mean, we ended up that season. We went from top of the league to being absolutely shite, basically.
Yeah.
And Jack Charlton went, but he was one of the ones that was brilliant. But for that moment, meeting him again, you know, that's the reason why he's in there. Yeah.
Lush, mate. Spot on. And then your next centre back, mate.
Next one next to him is Brian Kilcline.
I do know the name, and I was expecting Lee to have him. I don't think Lee did have him. No, he didn't. He did. I don't think he had Killer, or maybe he did. I can't remember. But I want to hear why you've got.
Basically, Killer. I reckon Brian Kilcline is. obviously Keegan and McDermott and whatever kept up and then took on, you know, the massive upward plane to where we ended up being. But people forget we were very, very, very close to getting relegated to the old third division.
Yeah.
You know, and I reckon the main reason why we didn't is because Kevin Keegan brought Brian Kilcline in. And Kilcline had won the FA Cup with Coventry City, and everybody remembers him for his big tash and that. He looked like something out of the Wild West, you know.
He did. He did. Deadwood. He looks like Wild Bill Hickok.
Yeah,
Deadwood. I'll put a picture up there to try and show the difference.
He looks even more like that now. But he basically come in and he knocked heads together. And I reckon the kind of conversation would have been, right, I've signed for you. I am not fucking going down to the third division. And anybody who doesn't do this gets that. And
was
you
he
can
was he captained, mate? Because that was the season before I really got into football. So I don't remember Killer as a player. Like I remember hearing about him because I got into football in the glory days.
he made him captain. So when we got promoted, he was club captain, and he'd been injured in that promotion season, so he didn't play as much. But he was the tough centre half, you know, that you needed. A real battler, somebody who just wasn't going to let anything past him. And you need players like that.
Yeah.
You know, now they're all cultured and they can do the extra jobs as well. But at the end of the day, a defender's job is to defend.
Yeah.
And he basically, I reckon the centre forwards were scared of him, to be honest. Like, you know, he would just growl at them and say, "You are not coming past me now." You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so I think he is, for our modern sort of history, he's one of the most important players, I reckon. To be honest, that's why he's in there.
Amazing. Great reason, mate. And probably definitely a lot of younger people who watch the channel won't know that.
Years. Yeah.
So,
but huge player in every respect.
Great. No, and moving on, are we on the left or the right now? My memory's
terrible. We're on the left.
On the left.
He did play left and right back.
Right.
And it's Frank Clark. Now, Frank Clark,
I know the name, but I don't know the history, mate.
Frank Clark was at Newcastle for years and years and years from being a youth player, right? And he played in that match, my very first match that I went to, which was in April '75. It was the last game of the season. And he was one of these players that I loved before I saw him. He saw clips of them on telly.
Yeah.
The stories go that George Best used to say that he hated playing against Newcastle for one reason, because he always ended up having to play against Frank Clark.
Yeah.
And he reckoned Frank Clark was the best defender that he played against.
Right.
And,
wow.
You know, that's how
from George Best. That is some accreditation, isn't it?
But then what happened was my dad told us, it's his last game. And we had tickets for his testimonial on the Wednesday after this last game of the season. And I says, "What's happened to him? Like, what does that mean?" And he told us about the whole testimonial thing. And he says, he's going to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest are at the bottom of the second division, and he's kind of going there to retire, and he doesn't want to like stop playing altogether. He's going there to kind of finish playing, and Brian Clough's the manager there, so you know they might do okay. I went to his testimonial on the Wednesday, and it was against Sunderland.
Was it?
And we won 6-3, and I was like 6-year-old watching Newcastle beat Sunderland 6-3. It was tremendous, you know what I mean? And I was like, this is brilliant, you know. But Frank Clark went from then to Nottingham Forest, and they got promoted in the first season. After they got promotion to the first division, they won the league. The next year, they won the league. And then the year after that, they won the European Cup.
Whilst he was playing.
He played more games than any player for Nottingham Forest during that 3-year period. And he basically left Newcastle after being there. His whole career was basically like, you know, being put out to
pasture.
You know, the pasture like an old horse, and he won the league within 2 years, and then won the European Cup, and then I don't think he played the season after. I think he retired, but they won the season after as well.
Wow!
But that
do you reckon he was pivotal in that?
Oh, Brian Clough used to say he was one of his best signings ever.
Yeah.
Frank Cork, you know, he was because he knew the game, and he knew what was needed, and he was losing a bit pace, but you know, whether Clough got him for to, you know, do more training, he was in his 30s, you know.
Yeah.
He was coming to the back end of his career, but he won those. He won those all of those honours and that at the end of his career when everybody had written him off.
Aye, that's a wicked story.
I've met him as well, and he was really, really canny, you know. But
that's a wicked reason. That's a wicked reason to have him in your team, mate. Testimonial, then going on to like smash it with another club.
Oh, it was unbelievable,
brilliant, mate. Brilliant, mate. Right, we'll move down. You can do right or left wing, mate.
Right, I'll quickly say left wing. And that was my position when I used to play when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And David Ginola I've picked. I couldn't not. You know, there's so many different players.
Of course, he could. Lee had him in his team, and again, he's one of the ones that I think will probably run a strong theme throughout this. You just couldn't not put him in your team.
He just oozed class. He was just
Davy, you know, because I'm worth it. Everything. True. That he was probably one of my first like characters that I really like remember thinking like, fucking hell, this is Newcastle United, and like, you know what I mean? Like, this is mad. Because I remember the whole signing. I've got it. I put it up last time. I'll put it up one more time. There's a picture of me when David Ginola signed. That I was there with me best mate at the time, Dunny, skipping school to go and see people signing. Fucking brilliant.
It was just superb. Just his touch, the way he moved, he just glided. It was almost like he floated along, you know. And I think the one moment that sums him up is, if any of the young kids wanted to watch it, if they watch the 5-0 against Man United, and Gary Neville tries to cripple him, he comes sliding in, and he's fed up, he's had enough, and he comes flying in to get him, and he literally he just goes past him as if he wasn't even there, and Neville ends up sliding past him, and he just looks stupid.
Yeah.
You know? But
we made a lot of players look stupid that day.
But he was just from the word go, he was just brilliant. And being on the left wing, I always looked at players who played left wing, you know, and I used to think I was decent, you know. I used to play with Alan Shearer, and everybody thought at the time I was better than Shearer.
Quickly tell a story about
Shearer, right? Well,
was he a cock?
This is why Shearer isn't in my team, right?
Right.
He's brilliant. He is. He was one of the best players in the world ever. But I live in Hebburn, and I used to go to my nana's every other Sunday, and they had a big back garden, and there's a fence at the bottom, and then another garden and another house and another row of houses. When I was 6, 7-year-old, Paddy and Vera, who lived out the back, said, "Oh, our nephew's here. Can he come and play with you, your brother, cousins, and this, that, and the other?" So he was like lifted over, and
oh God, mate, I've just had so many nostalgic feelings there. That doesn't happen anymore. Kids getting lifted over garden fences.
I know.
I'm gonna have to quickly say the area that I moved from when I moved into this house. It was the street that I was pretty much. I moved there when I was 8, but me aunties lived there. I had two aunties who lived there. My mum lived there. My dad lived there in a different house, but obviously that was wasn't a pleasant time. But the going to my aunties and my nana's, because we moved into my nana's house when she passed away. But I remember before she passed away, because I was 8, that thing of being in the back garden and loads of different kids from the other, because the back gardens were like separated, so there was 2 sides, and kids being lifted over fences, ice lollies going over, ice cream van, kids running over the fence to get to the side. I mean, we're old fucks, and that was a nice thing to reminisce. But sorry to cut you off, mate.
Oh, that's fine. So basically, it was just like, I'm Alan, and we started playing. He said, "Where do you play?" "Oh, well, I play in goal." He says, "I play in goal for the school and that."
Really?
And, he says, "I don't really want to play in goal though." I just kind of got put in goal because I was the best goalkeeper, and so we let him play out. And then as we got older, he came for about 10 years till he was about 15. I was about 16 when he stopped coming.
Yeah.
And we just used to play like every other Sunday. And he would come in the holidays every now and then to see his aunt and uncle. And he came one time and he brought some golf clubs. We were playing football up by the old Corkies in Hebburn. And he turned up with golf clubs. We didn't really want to play golf. My cousin wanted to, and we ended up playing golf. I got my bike nicked, so I blame Alan Shearer for getting my bike nicked that day, you know. And basically, he came back when he was 15 at the end of the summer, and he was all elbows and kicking and that. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you know, we're just having. And he just kept doing it. So I kept doing it to him.
Yeah.
We were doing it and whatever. And it was like, but we had a good laugh about it at the end, because he was like, well, you have to be competitive all the time. He had just been to Southampton for a training summer, and he come back and they basically told him how to do all of that. We actually played against each other. The next year, I was in the 6th form at school, and I played against his school, but I didn't see him. And the reason I didn't see him was the fog was so bad you could only see to the halfway line. And I captained my team, and he probably captained his team, but I never used to look at people. You know, I used to play. I used to have my head down, right, like focus. And I didn't even recognize him, you know. And I didn't see him at all, because you literally could only see half the pitch. Sure, he would have played on that game, unless he wasn't allowed to, you know, one of them. When that's a possibility. But
right, well, he's not in the team, so there you go.
Yeah, but everybody thought I was better than him, which is why, how can I pick somebody who wasn't as good as me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No
team. So there you
valid reason not to be in.
I met him a few weeks ago and reminded him. And he was like, "Oh, bloody hell, that was ages ago." And we ended up just talking like old mates who hadn't seen each other for 35 years. 40 years or whatever. It was brilliant, you know. So, yeah.
So all is resolved in the end. But did he give you any money for your bike?
Why not? Why
Little
not? He signed me HINNIE the Pooh paintings, which
there you go. We'll mention that at the end, because we'll put all the links to what you're up to now in the end. Right, mate. So moving into the midfield, have you got a CAM? Have you got a CDM? Have you got someone who can play box to box? Who have you got next, mate?
I've got a player who he played in the World Cup. He apparently nutmegged Zico in the World Cup. He was a real battler. And I've got a couple of reasons why I've picked him. It's David McCreary from Newcastle, Northern Ireland. He played for Man United in the late 70s, and he looked a real player, and they let him go. And I was really surprised when they let him go. But he played in the 82 World Cup.
Right.
And he signed for us. After that, he signed for us. He played, during the Keegan era and beyond. I mean, there's a picture of him getting carried off the pitch. I think it was about 86 or 87. He had a massive gash. I'm talking massive gash along his leg where he got studded.
Yeah.
And anybody else would have been in tears and this, that, his leg was literally ripped open.
Yeah.
And he just looks like he's not bothered. He probably in shock, you know what I mean? He was as hard as nails. he was the type of player now, you know, people go on about Kante and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, he was as tough as they come, but he had a good touch on him as well. He was a decent footballer. He wasn't just a get it and give it. He could do a lot more, you know.
Yeah.
But I've got a little story about him, right?
Yeah, man.
About 2005, I worked at the airport for nearly a year.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, obviously, I worked, do different jobs at the airport. One of them was checking people into their flights. And one Friday, this guy, massive, big, bushy, ginger beard, baldy head, came up, and I thought, it wasn't you. But, and I thought, that's David McCreary. And he come up to us, and we got chatting and everything like that. And I says, you were a cracking player and all this kind of stuff. And he really, like, I can't do the accent, but you know, really strong Irish, soft accent. Lovely, lovely bloke, chatting away with him. And then we chatted for about 15 minutes. It was really quiet. And then at the end of it, he was with a couple of his mates and that. I checked him in and I says, look, I'll take you through and whatever. And he says to us, can I just ask? He says, nobody recognizes me these days, obviously with a big beard, and I haven't got the hair. He says, how did you recognize us? I says, because I've got your passport and it says David McCreary. You know, and he just fell about laughing, you know. So, and I met him again at one of Lee and Gavin's football shows.
Yeah.
And I reminded him of it, and he remembered, and he started laughing because he remembered how, you know, it was one of them, you had to be there.
We are, of course. No, it's great.
He was nearly on the floor laughing. It was hilarious, you know. I've got your passport, and it says David McCreary. I had actually recognised him, you know, but yeah, it was so that's why he's in my team.
Yeah,
because I had a joke to tell about David McCreary.
Well, honestly,
in there anyway. Like,
the more obscure reasons that I love stuff like that. Right, moving along. Who we got next?
Stuart Barraclough. Now, Stuart Barraclough again. I was a winger when I was a kid.
So what? Go. What? Just explain what era this is first for.
Early 70s. Early 70s.
Right.
He was signed by Joe Harvey in the early 70s, and he was signed basically to create. I'm sure I might be wrong, but he was signed around 71, 72, and he was signed to put the ball over for Malcolm MacDonald. Basically, that was his job.
Yeah,
and he wasn't a trickster. He was the opposite of Ginola. He literally,
no nonsense.
He would push the ball ahead, or they would, you know, like Sir Terry Hibbert would push the ball into an area. He was a speedster. He was a bit like, what's his name, man, who played against Barcelona and that, Gillespie. He was that same kind of thing.
Love Keith Gillespie. Love
head down and run as fast as you can. Get to the byline, hoy the ball over, decent crosses in, bang. Malcolm MacDonald scored loads of goals, and he will always go on about Stuart Barraclough. And that was the template for me. And I started doing that, and then I thought, I can do these little tricks, and I can do all the other sorts of stuff as well. But ultimately, you had to get down that byline one way or another and get the ball over, or cut in and try and score. And I did both. But Barraclough, there's a couple of things. The game when we lost to Hereford in 72, in the, you know, it's played every single FA Cup day. The play that goal, Ronnie Radford, in 1972. The week after, we played Man United at Old Trafford, and we beat Man United 2-0. The week after, we'd lost to Hereford, and Barraclough scored the second goal. And the other thing is
I remember the Hereford thing. It gets mentioned on lots of podcasts and things.
Yeah, but that was the last time for years and years and years we'd won at Old Trafford, and he scored the second goal. But a lot of people think that Joe Harvey's biggest mistake was in the 74 Cup final, when he dropped Stuart Barraclough.
Yeah,
and he was worried about Liverpool's left back. getting
I
forward.
was just about to say who were we playing then? Because obviously
the FA Cup final, 74, we lost 3-0 to Liverpool. They destroyed one in the second half. The first half was rubbish. It was just both teams were really poor. I was sat there, had me new Newcastle strip on, whatever. And I was like, why is Barclough not playing? And obviously nobody knew why. Maybe he's injured. He wasn't even on the bench. And it was because Joe Harvey was worried about their left back getting forward. So he played a different formation.
Right.
And McDonald hardly got a kick of the ball. And they reckon basically one of the main reasons is because he didn't play Barclough because...
Because we did actually mention this game, me and Kev, in our build up to the cup final. We mentioned all the cup finals, and we skimmed over the ones where we got beat. Kev done a quick summary, but obviously it was well before our time. Me and Kev weren't even born until the 80s. So, what was our form like leading up to that? Then leading up to the cup final, do you remember?
Well, Newcastle were one of those teams that our form was always up and down.
Right.
We might have had like a few games where we won 3-4 games on the belt, and then we get stuffed off someone, and then we'd have a 0-0 draw. And Newcastle, you could never tell. We could
consistency.
We could win really well one week, and then the next week we get stuff off a team that you would expect to win against.
Yeah,
and that was Newcastle's form. It was so sporadic. It was just bizarre. Now, Liverpool were a cracking team, and I mean Kevin Keegan was playing for Liverpool at that time. Steve Highway, players like that, you know.
Yeah.
They had a cracking team, and Keegan basically almost single-handedly destroyed when that second half. He was brilliant.
Yeah, we watched it. Me and Kev actually watched it together.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. If people haven't seen it, only watch it for Keegan, even though he's destroying Newcastle hearts and dreams. But I wasn't born, so.
But our kind of hope was that McDonald would score the winning goals and stuff like that. But he hardly got a kick of the ball, and one of the reasons for that is because Barclough wasn't playing, you know.
So you think he would have been a different game altogether?
A lot of people, I'm sure Gavin mentions it now and then, you know. It's one of those sort of if onlys. But the other thing is I remember hearing that he went to the school that featured in Kes, the movie Kes.
Kes.
So, you know, that's reason enough to be in anyone's team, just to go into that school and turn out. Because, you know, proper old school, and anybody not seen that, it's got the best football scene ever in any movie. Kes.
I've never seen it. Yeah, I only know it from Bo Selector. Taking the piss. I've never actually watched it, but weirdly, talking about it, it showed up on my timeline on Facebook yesterday. The bloke who played him,
David Bradley,
there was a post about him. I can't remember why. Has he passed away? Or he hasn't, has he?
Not that I haven't heard that he has.
Like maybe it was just no. I think it was it? Could it have been the 50th anniversary?
Possibly, yeah. Might have been,
73. Yeah. I think that might have been it. Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Well, that's I love obscure reasons why they're in the team, and I love little known facts. And honestly, I do. I really enjoy them, even though I forget them because, as you know, me and you are both.
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link to the football scene. It's hilarious.
I'll send us a link now, but I'll put it down in the description so people can have a look. I'm going to quickly pop this on. You recommended this to us, as I am starting to really fucking seize up. It's a tens machine. If people don't know, Davy recommended this to me because we have similar conditions, not completely, but we'll have similar symptoms. It's fucking lovely. And Davy recommended it to me. I ordered it, and it was there that next. So within 9 hours of you mentioning it, I actually had it, and that's the power of the big, horrible corporate machine, but very convenient. That is Amazon.
yeah.
Right, mate. Moving on to the other side. Who's nipping down the other wing? Who's crossing them balls in, or who's cutting in?
Well, I've already mentioned him, man. That was Ginola.
The other side.
No, that Barclough was on the right side.
Have we been through the full midfield?
Yeah, we've done both.
Have we?
We've done it, aye.
Okay, now I've had pre-gabbling this morning, and I've had.
I know all about pre-gabbling.
I've had very little. I've had 2 hours sleep last night and 2 hours sleep the night before, because the day before that I slept for 37 hours because of like going away to Berlin, as people will have saw. So yeah, everyone knows on the channel that I fuck up and I forget things, and that's part of the charm, I like to think.
I don't take my pain medication anymore. I wean myself off it, and I try and use like all sorts of different other methods to get over it. But I read I'm reading Bez's biography at the moment, and I read that I was actually on 3 times more than Bez was on at the millennium, and he says in his book he couldn't handle it. It was too much drugs for him.
Yeah.
So I was on 3 times more than Bez, and he couldn't handle it.
What, the pre-gabs?
That's my new claim to fame.
Was he on pre-gabs? Was he?
He was on citalopram and Oromorph and Zomorph.
Pre-gabs. Wow, that sounds similar to mine. I was on citalopram, antidepressants. I've now been moved on to other ones. Yeah, I also take like, as you know, opiates and pregabalin and baclofen but anyway, this is not a medical hour.
No.
Right, mate. So we've got 2 up front. Which one do you want to start with first, mate?
Right. Well, I've gone for I'll say who they are, because I've gone for a number 10 and 2 strikers.
Also, have you done a 4-3-3?
4-3-3.
That's why I thought it was a 4-4-2.
That's why I've confused you.
That's why you've confused. It's your fault, Davy. No, it's not my fault for being a nana. Right,
number 10's Peter Beardsley, and Beardsley, he would be in everybody's team, and
he was in Lee's. He would be in mine. He would be in. I think anyone aged, I don't know, probably what would you say, 60 to maybe his mid-30s would have Beardsley in that team.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I'm 43. When did he leave Newcastle the final time? What season was that? Was it 2000 or something?
Was it not about 97, 98 when he left?
It might have been.
Roughly.
So kids born in like the 90s. Yeah. So mid 30s to 60. I think Beardsley would have been in a lot of people's teams.
Beardsley for me is the best player I've ever seen at Newcastle in the white shirt. He was just, and I've spoken to him a few times. I've met him a few times, and he's a lovely guy. Humble is not, but he doesn't have to be. You know, I mean, in the sense of like, I remember saying to him, "You're the best player I've ever seen in the black and white shirt," and he says, "Well, of course, because I was." You know.
Well, see, I remember when he scored. I was there. I was in the Milburn paddock when it used to be standing. When he scored 2 goals, 2 blinding goals against Aston Villa. And it was also who was their player that scored that goal? No, it was our player. It was ours. He scored his first, and I think it was only ever goal for Newcastle. Barry Venison, that match against Aston Villa. But getting back to Beardsley, one where he just literally just trips and skips and just as smooth as butter goes through about, well, it looks like, to me, as a 12-year-old kid at the match, it looked like he went through the full fucking 11, the full 10. But that goal for me was when I remember just falling in love with it and go, wow, that's outstanding. That was the best thing I'd ever witnessed at the time, live and thingy.
He was one of these players. We got him. He basically got turned down by everybody. He went to Carlisle.
Is this his very start of his career?
Yeah. He got turned down, and he went over to I think he was one of the American teams. I forget which one he played.
Yes, there's a picture going round of him in that. Was it not Canadian?
It was, but they played in the American League. It was
right. I'm going to put that picture up now because it's a fucking blinder. People hopefully should be having a laugh now because it's nostalgic and retro and everything. Everything I love, everything that's about me is that picture.
I forget the name. It's not important, but
I'll put it on the screen now.
Yeah, but there was a clip. We signed him. Keegan was already playing. We signed Peter Beardsley part through when Beardsley, when Keegan had been playing for a while.
So the first time round, mate, what year we're talking about?
About 83, 84
Right.
when he first came, roughly.
Yeah, I was still a baby, so I don't remember his first time at all.
Keegan had signed, and there was like Keegan and Waddle and Terry McDermott and players like that. There was a piece
That
in
when
the
Gaza was Gaza coming through yet?
No, he wasn't there yet. I mean, he would have been in the reserves maybe, but Gaza came later after Jack Charlton sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Beardsley basically, I remember they were saying like, "Oh, we're signing Peter Beardsley," and they showed this clip of him playing in the American League, and he literally went through the whole team. You know, you're saying in your memory, he went.
Yeah.
There'll be a thing on YouTube where he takes on about 8 or 9 players and then scores.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Whoa, who's this?" But people didn't realize he was from Long Benton.
Send us the link to that, mate. Send us the link to that, and I'll put it.
I will. I'll try and find it and I'll send it.
No
But we
problem.
were like, "Whoa, this guy looks a proper player," and he turned up, and it's Peter Beardsley. He's from Long Benton, you know. He's a Newcastle fan. He was just world class from the word go. He was the missing link in that team, you know, the jigsaw piece that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And we ended up basically, we got promoted. We had, like I say, Keegan, Waddle, McDermott, McCreary in defence, Roder, you know, other players and that were there that were, you know, all integral. He was the difference.
Right.
He was the one that made the difference. And
I'm conscious on time, but because Lee had Peter Beardsley in his as well, and obviously he would be in mine.
Yeah, we'll move on from Beardsley.
Quickly, the first time round, why was he sold the first time round?
Basically, I spoke to John Anderson.
In what year was it? Sorry,
about 86. I think he went in the World Cup period where he was actually still a Newcastle player when he went to the World Cup in 86 officially, but he signed for Liverpool. Everybody knew he was going to Liverpool, but yeah.
And was it just because they were like it was ambition and they were a bigger club at the time? Is that kind of
but Jack Charlton basically brought in 2 big centre forwards. And he apparently said to Waddle and Beardsley, right, and you two, I just want the ball howled straight up to them, and if you don't like it, you can F off. That's what John Anderson told me. And they both left.
Yeah.
Waddle left first, and Beardsley ended up going, you know, a couple of years later. But he was never going anywhere with Newcastle. He did get in that England squad. He was too good for Newcastle at that time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
One of those things. He was brilliant.
Imagine. Well, that's good because obviously we had stories with Lee about the 90s times, so that was good to hear about the 80s, mate. Really, stuff that I didn't know. So who we got up next, mate?
We've got Kevin Keegan. Now,
God,
yeah.
Oh, God, I don't know where my wife put it. I've got a Kevin Keegan, the little minifigure still in its original box. Love the bones of the man.
When I played for the school team, I was the smallest one, right? And I only had little feet as well, with being the smallest. I started playing for the school team when I was 7.
Yeah.
And I remember people telling us like, it doesn't matter about your size, because Kevin Keegan was always the smallest, and he worked and worked and worked and all this kind of stuff. I loved Keegan when he played for Liverpool, and then he went to Hamburg, and then the first boots with proper studs that I could get, because you couldn't get boots with metal studs until you were a size 1.
Right.
And I wasn't a size 1 until I was about 9, right? And 9, maybe getting on for 10.
Yeah.
But the first boots that I got were Kevin Keegan Patricks. You know, it was like, yeah, they were Patricks. That's what they were called. And it was just the best present ever to have proper football boots with metal studs, aluminium studs with Kevin Keegan's signature on it. And then when he signed for Newcastle, it was just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Me and my cousin went to the ground to get.
So when we're talking? Year?
82.
Summer
of 82. and we went to we went every game. You know, I went to nearly every game apart from the odd one from 75, and we basically said, right, okay, we had some pocket money that we'd saved up. We went and bought seat tickets for that game, for Keegan's game. We would normally be in the Gallagher end, but we got seat tickets. We had the tickets in my pockets, went back, and we ended up playing cricket. On that day, I fractured my skull really, really badly. Like I ended up in hospital. I was knackered. That was the reason why I ended up like any chance of a football career and that. I had Bobby Robson's Ipswich after us and Notts County and whatever. I had that accident. I lost my balance, everything. I broke my ear, everything.
Mate, well, since I've had the spinal cord injury, I've lost, like, I've mentioned this on the thing a few times. I can't do stand-up comedy anymore. Although I do want to make a comeback at some point. I want to, but me speech and me memory. I used to have a really good vocabulary and I could pick words out. Just gone, mate. Gone, absolutely gone.
My memory's the one thing that's still there. Like,
mine's terrible.
Well, what happened was I was in hospital. I missed his game. I missed that game. So I was eventually allowed out of hospital, and the reason I was allowed out was we went to see Newcastle play Middlesbrough, and Mick Shannon played for Newcastle. He was on loan for a couple of games. He scored, did his his windmill celebration. But that was the first time I saw Keegan play for Newcastle.
Yeah.
But I was really ill. You know, I was being sick, and it was awful.
Yeah.
But then not long after, they gave us a certain length of time to get myself put right. Yeah. I took it. They meant getting out of bed and walking. I took it like, I can play football again. I went out the day that the earmarked, like so many months or whatever. I went out, lost my balance, fell over, broke my arm.
Yeah.
Back in the hospital. And I went to this thing. Keegan was opening a sofa place in South Shields, so there was queues of kids.
Yeah.
I went and I had me plaster cast and that, and I was going to tell him the whole story about missing his match and all this, how I played and had Keegan Patrick's before, the whole shebang. When I got stood in front of him, he's the only person in my life where I've literally just went.
Yeah.
Couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, how did you do that?" He gave us a signature and he says, "Yeah, I'll sign that for you." So he signed me cast, which my mother hired out like a couple of years later, which I was furious about. But anyway, so he said, "Oh, how did you do that? Playing football." He says, "Oh, that's a stupid game. You'd never catch me doing that." and then I got moved on, and that was it. He's still, I've not met him since, but if I met Kevin Keegan, he's like that, one of those ultimate heroes.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Right, mate, we've got just over 7 minutes to go. So we've got your last member of your starting 11. Then we'll rattle through the subs.
Super Mac was my ultimate hero when I was a kid, and he scored in that first game that I went to against Birmingham. We lost 2-1, but he scored, and I was over the moon seeing him scoring. I cried the day that he went to Arsenal, and I met him a few times now, but the last time that I met him, was at the Irish Centre, and there's a story behind it, but we haven't got time. And I basically went past him. I couldn't stand. I was on my sticks. I'd been to the toilet, and I thought I need to sit down. And I come past. There was a queue to say hello, and as I come past him, I just went, "Oh, hello, Malcolm. You all right?" And he went, "Hello, Davy. How you doing?" And I was like, "Malcolm McDonald knows who I am," and it's because of We Are the Geordies.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I won't have to get you back on to talk about that because we won't have time today. But Super Mac, right? Do you want to name all your 4 subs now, and then we'll pick which ones to have a quick chat about? Because I do want to get in the stuff that needs plugging before the hour mark, before stream off.
there's Alan Shoulder, who I picked because he was the smallest. Like I was the smallest, so he played for Newcastle. He was tiny. He'd worked down the pit,
Yeah.
and then played for Newcastle. I was like, bloody hell! Like if he can do it, that's the reason he's there. And he's a lovely
Lee had him as well. Apparently, he's a lovely guy. Really can spin a yarn.
Tommy Cassidy was a great passer of the ball. He played in the World Cup as well in '82. Played in that famous game against Spain. And I've met Tommy on a number of occasions, and he hasn't just like talked for 5 minutes. I've like chatted to him for like over an hour. He's a lovely, lovely, lovely guy. He's not well at the moment, but he's a lovely guy.
Well, we wish him all the best.
Chris Waddle, on top of being Chris Waddle, I've got a story about him as well when he left. But I'll maybe tell you it another time.
No about that.
Because it is a good little story. But he lived in Peel. He was from POOH, which is literally just down the road from where I went to school and that. So again, he used to come. I used to play for POOH, so he used to come now and then and watch me play. And I was absolutely rubbish every time he played because I keep thinking Chris Waddle's there. Chris Waddle's watching, and I'm on the left wing, and he's bound to be watching me, and my legs just went to jelly every single time, But and the other
how many we got left?
John Anderson's the other one. I've got stories about all of them, but we're running out of time. That's fine. But John Anderson, I have to get this quick story in.
Yeah, cool.
I went to a talk and him and Lee Clark were doing, and I told him, I says, can you remember Paul Mariner? And he went, of course I can. And I told him a story, and it was basically one of Beardsley's last games. Paul Mariner was a centre forward for England, but when he was at Arsenal, he played as like a sweeper. He crippled Peter Beardsley in one of his last games. John Anderson went for this was in the left wing position. John Anderson was a right back, real tough player, cracking right back. And he basically jogged up the full diagonal length of the pitch. There was a big melee going on, and he just smacked Paul Mariner, sparked him clean out, and walked back. The referee either didn't see it or was in shock, and he didn't even book him, didn't do anything. And I told him about it, and he was like, I'd forgotten about that. How did I forget about that? And he thanked us for reminding him. He was chatting with us later on, and he was like, I hate Paul Mariner and all this kind of stuff. I bumped into him again a couple of weeks later, and we were chatting again. And then a couple of weeks later, because I was in bands and stuff, and I used to know different people, and I met different ones. And there were a couple of people I was like friends of friends with, and they used to call me the gobshite because I used to have stories about everything. You know me, Si. I've got a story about everything.
I do. Well,
and basically, we were in Rosie's bar. And one of these lads he'd seen John Anderson over the far end of this packed. It was packed. And he says, I was telling a story, and he goes, oh, aye, the gobshite again. Who's he going to like be talking about next? John Anderson. And 2 minutes later, John Anderson was going to the toilet, and he'd come past, and he'd come to shake. Hello, Davy, how you doing? Shake me hand. And all looking and going, fucking hell. That's why he's there. Yeah.
Excellent, mate. Well, that's spot on. Listen, mate, I've really enjoyed it. We'll definitely going to see more Davy on the channel. We'll get him on to do some match reviews, match previews. Get you or more. We've got 2 minutes, mate. You have got a fundraising thing you're doing. Go. What is it? Tell us quickly.
Right. I do Hinnie the Pooh paintings instead of Winnie the Pooh paintings, and they're all getting raffled off. It's £5 a ticket. I'm doing them on a rolling basis. They're all signed by Newcastle players, right? There's a one at the moment that's out. It's signed by Dan Burn. It features Dan Burn is like wearing Piglet is wearing a Dan Burn shirt.
It will appear on the screen now.
Yeah, I'll send you pictures of all the different ones that will be coming out. Yeah. And the last one is the Alan Shearer one where I've done Hinnie the Pooh of the North, which is the Angel of the North, but as Hinnie the Pooh, with Shearer's top on, and Shearer signed that as well.
And what's the form? What's the aim, mate?
It's all 100% of everything goes to the food bank because I help with the fans' food bank every game. You can see me outside the Strawberry, sat with my bucket, shaking and shouting.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, because we're just about to get cut off. I'll put links to everything you've mentioned in the description. Davy,
put me Twitter handle as well, so people can.
Well, I'll put everything down so people can get in touch. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed the hour. StreamYard, I just refuse to pay for extra StreamYard. But we'll get you. I would like to get you on with maybe Zara and Davy just before the Amazon documentary comes out, so we can maybe plug the We Are the Geordies off the back of it, and maybe get a bit of content.
You have to watch it before. You have to come and watch it before.
Right, we've got 10 seconds. So, Davy, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Do remember to hit that like button, subscribe, comment below if you've got any memories like Davy has, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, everyone. Bye.